Today on Don't Talk TV, I'm starting a short series on the court process, starting from arrest up to ultimate acquittal or sentencing. And today we'll start with the arrest process. Hello, my name is Nicholas Wansputter. I'm a criminal defense lawyer in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, and welcome to Don't Talk TV. The court system for the vast majority of Canadians is very mysterious, and being initiated into that system by being arrested and charged can be a terrifying experience, especially because of that element of the unknown. So what I'd like to do over the next few episodes is try to demystify that process a little bit by explaining what happens at each stage of proceedings. So the very first thing that happens, of course, is being arrested and charged by the police. Now there's two scenarios that I'll look at. One, where the police call you ahead of time, or two, where you're arrested right in the moment, either in your car or as you're walking down the street or right after something's happened. So looking at scenario number one, police will not infrequently phone people ahead of time, and then from that scenario there's two ways that they might play it, depending on what they want from you and whether they're hoping to try to trick you into saying something that'll build their case. So in one scenario, they'll phone you and tell you right out that we have reasonable and probable grounds to believe that you've committed X offense and we want to make arrangements for you to come and turn yourself in. Now, if that's what happens, my advice is that you immediately call a lawyer and they can discuss with you your options, but your options are pretty limited. You need to turn yourself in, but you can do it on your own timetable, and you can put some arrangements into place. And speaking to that lawyer ahead of time, they can walk you through the process, again, the way I am now, and give you some preliminary advice. That preliminary advice is going to include, don't talk to the police. And I'm going to reiterate that frequently throughout this video. Scenario 1B, we could call it, is where the police call you and say, we'd like you to come in so we can talk to you. Generally what this means is that they suspect you, but they're worried that if they tell you they suspect you, you're going to either rabbit run on them or you're not going to talk to them. Whereas if they just say they want to talk to you and leave it vague, they're hoping that you might speak to them. This is an extremely dangerous situation. If police phone you and say, we just want to talk to you, immediately call a lawyer. For the same reasons as when the police tell you to want to turn yourself in. Speak to a lawyer. Now this one's a little bit different because what I generally do when clients phone me and say, hey, the police called me saying they want to talk to me, I tell them, okay, let me take care of it. I phone the police and then I tell them, look, I'm Nicholas Wansputter, criminal lawyer. I've been contacted by X. They tell me that you want to speak with them. They're not going to speak to you. If you have grounds to arrest them, let's make arrangements. They'll come turn themselves in and cooperate in that regard, but they're not speaking to you in either event, so let's just make this easy. And generally I find that works to either A, have the police leave you alone, or B, go straight to an arrest without playing these games of pretending that they just want to speak with you. But above all, you don't want to just go and speak with them. And again, always make use of that right to speak to counsel. Now they won't let you know that you have the right to counsel at this point, but you have it. So when in doubt, say I would like to speak to a lawyer first before I answer or do anything. Now, scenario 2 is when the police arrest you right at the side of the road, and scenario 1 will segue into scenario 2. This is where the police take you into custody. Generally, they'll put handcuffs on you, whether you're a dangerous person or not, because that's just their standard procedure, and then they have to advise you of certain things. So they'll have a script that they go through. The script starts with, I have reasonable and probable grounds to believe that you've committed the offense of X, or I'm arresting you because I have reasonable and probable grounds to believe that you've committed X. That's the notification required by Section 10A of the Charter, that you be advised of the reason for your arrest. Then they have to follow that up with notifying you of your right to counsel, which is required by Section 10B of the Charter. So they'll first tell you, you're arrested for X, you have the right to retain and instruct counsel, and they'll advise you that if you don't have a lawyer, you can't afford a lawyer, you can speak to a legal aid lawyer, and they'll often read out the legal aid's 1855 number. Then they will ask you, do you want to call a lawyer? Sometimes they'll say, do you want to call a lawyer now? The answer is always yes. Now, it may seem ridiculous if you're at the side of the road and they say, do you want to call a lawyer now? You might say, well, no, because I can't call a lawyer now. Don't say that, because then the police could later say, well, he declined the right to counsel. And then we get into arguments over semantics, over what does "do you want to call counsel" now mean. The safest and easiest course is always, whenever you're offered the right to speak to counsel, say, yes, I want to speak to a lawyer. They will transport you to the police station unless you're already there to facilitate that phone call. You'll be put in a private room, and you have the right to have a phone book to choose the lawyer that you want. You can either tell them the lawyer that you want, and if you're in Stratford or Kitchener or any of the surrounding areas, they'll for sure know who I am, and they'll be able to call me. Stratford Police Service have my personal cell phone as well. If you don't know who you want to speak to, you have the right to consult a phone book. You also have the right to speak to any person that you choose to help facilitate that right to counsel. So if your brother or your father or your mother knows who a good lawyer is, you can say, I want to speak to that person for the purpose of accessing right to counsel, or for the purpose of figuring out which lawyer I should call. Now, this is very important because police are not required to let you speak to whoever you want. It's not like in the United States where you get one phone call and you can phone whoever you want. In Canada, you get essentially unlimited phone calls, but they can only be to counsel or for the purpose of obtaining counsel. So when in doubt, always ask to speak to a lawyer, and then do what they tell you, which is going to be, don't talk to the police. Now, once you've gotten through your right to counsel, the police may or may not try to interview you. If they have a strong case and feel that they don't need to add to it, they won't interview you and they'll move right to the next step. But if they have a weak case, they will interview you about the cases. And as I've said in previous videos, if they're speaking to you, their case is weak and they're trying to fill holes, so do not speak to them. Don't talk to the police. And I'm not going to go through the interview process in detail in this video. If you're interested in a more detailed discussion of the interview process, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. But I'll skip over that because all you should be doing at this point is saying nothing. In a respectful way. You can say, with all due respect, officer, my lawyer told me not to speak to you. I'm going to follow the advice of my lawyer, or words to that effect. After that, you'll be held in cells for a time while they fill out their paperwork. It could be hours, so be ready for being in a cell for many hours. But ultimately, they will let you know that they're either releasing you on a promise to appear and give you a court date, or that they're holding you for bail, in which case you'll be stuck in there overnight. Now, often they'll have an idea already at the time when you're offered your right to counsel. So that's another reason to ask for your right to counsel, because a lawyer can ask the police about what their plans are, and if they're going to be holding you for bail, the lawyer can, in addition to giving you advice, start working on a bail plan for you. You'll then either be released on a promise to appear or held for bail court. This video is not legal advice. If you are in a situation where you need legal advice, contact a lawyer. You can call myself or another lawyer. My 1-855 number is listed below, along with my website address, and we can give you advice specifically tailored to the situation you find yourself in. If you have any suggestions or ideas of topics you'd like to see me cover, please feel free to leave those in the comment section below or send me an email. And if you found this video at all helpful or informative, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, and following me on social media.